Alright, hey guys, Mr. Kyle, Myers Mathematics, and let's just jump into it here. This is using the quadratic formula, Kuta software, Infinite Algebra 1, solving each equation with the quadratic formula. So for number 9, when we use the quadratic formula, first thing we got to do is got to set it equal to 0. The quadratic formula is basically what happens when you have a quadratic function y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and then you set y equal to 0. So if we're setting y equal to 0, then it should be equal to 0. So that's why we have to do it, but let's go ahead and do it. So minus 5 minus 5, negative 15 minus 5, that's negative 20. Add those two negatives together. 2x squared minus 3x minus 20. Now, we could look for the factors by doing a normal factoring method. And if you are taking this as a test, like let's say this is a test question and the instructions are to use the quadratic formula, you want to use the quadratic formula. However, I don't see any reason why the teacher would be mad if you did both the quadratic formula and a normal factoring method, because then you're using two different methods and you should get the same answer. Great way to check your work to make sure you're doing everything right, all your math adds up and checks out. So doesn't always work because it doesn't always factor, but the quadratic formula always will give you results even if they're not very pretty. So just something to keep in mind. You could use some other method alongside the quadratic formula, and that would be your decision there. So let's go and do the part that's under the radical, b squared minus 4ac minus 4. Oh, check my network connection. Get out of here. All right. B squared minus 4ac, and it's the square root. So let's go ahead and see what that's going to be. B squared, B, oh, by the way, what's A, what's B, what's C? A is 2, B is negative 3, C is negative 20. So C was a little misleading at first, but once I subtract that 5 on both sides, set it equal to 0, then I have my real C value. And it's always possible that you could have another x squared or an x or something as well. So make sure it's set equal to 0. That way you get your real A, B, and C values. So B is negative 3. That's going to be negative 3 squared is 9 minus 4 times A times C. A is 2. C is negative 20. A times C would be negative 40. Alrighty. 4 times 4 is 16. Negative and negative make a positive, so that's going to be 9 plus 160. That's 169. And the square root of that is actually 13. Can you guys see that? Yeah, let me back it up just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, so 13. Okay, so we're not done, though. The answer is not 13, but that is, well, the 169 is technically the discriminant because the discriminant is the part of the quadratic formula that is under the radical. However, kind of like the discriminant is, the 13. So kind of, sort of, more or less. Now, the reason why I like to do that off to the side is because that takes a long time to get the whole thing under the radical simplified. So if you've watched another video on this, I've already kind of explained it. But that's the reason why I like to do it that way. It's kind of just a preference thing. But the actual quadratic formula goes x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, which we know is 13, all over 2 times a. So normally it takes a lot of steps to, if you were to start off with just x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. If you start with that, and then you have to, simplify, then you're spending a lot of time simplifying it and writing it out all over again every single time on the line to make it look clean. But this way we can make it look clean and it doesn't take too long to, keep writing out each step. So nice little in between. It's practical, but it also is neat and orderly, so teachers like it. They won't mark you off. Show your work. 2 times 2 is 4. And now we can split it up. And I think I'll probably move it off to the side to do number 10, but let's go ahead and split it up. So 3 plus 13 would be how much? It'd be 16, right? 16 over 4 is 4. All right. 3 minus 13 would be negative 10 fourths, which is negative 5 halves. Do both of those answers work? Well, you can plug them back in to check, or you can um, factor it. There we go. I was blanking on what factor it was called for a second. So like if we plug in a 4, 4 squared is 16, times 2 is 32, 4 times 3 is 12, 32 minus 12 would be 20, minus 15 would be 5. So there we go, 4 works. And then negative 5 halves squared would be 25 fourths, times 2 would be 25 halves. And then you've got 13 times negative 5 halves would be positive 15 halves. So you've got 15 halves and what was the other one? 25 halves? 15 halves and 25 halves would be what? 40 halves, which is 20 minus 15 would be 5. So there you go. Both solutions work, and we've checked it. So that's another way you can do it. You don't have to do all three things, but I did the method that they asked me to do, and I checked the answers by plugging them back in to make sure they work. The third thing that you could do would be to use the other factoring method. So 2 different ways to check it. I mentioned that you could do factoring earlier, but you don't have to do factoring and check them by plugging them in. I think that's just that's a little too much, unless you just have a lot of time because it's a long test and you're the first one done and you're like, well, I could always double check. I could always triple check. I don't know. It's up to you. I would check your answers if you're on a test, but checking them more than once is I wouldn't waste the time. Unless you just have a weird hunch that like even when you checked it was off. I don't know. All right, let's go ahead and knock this next one out of the park here. So minus 2, and let me do one other thing actually because I've got this pulled up here. Let's stop that. Okay. So minus 2, that's minus 3. X squared plus 2x minus 3 equal to 0. And yeah, so actually this one factors really well. If I do the factors for this, it's just 1 and 3. I just can't help myself. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. And then x is equal to 1 or negative 3. Wow. Yeah, there we go. However, they do want you to, make sure that you're using the actual quadratic formula. So let's go ahead and do that. A would be equal to 1. B is equal to 2. C is equal to negative 3. Okie dokie. What about the b squared minus 4ac? Let's do that. So b squared is 4 minus 4 times 1 times negative 3 would be negative 12, right? 4 times 1 is 4, 4ac. 4 times 1 is 4, times negative 3 is negative 12. So then that's going to be 4 plus 12 is 16. Square root of 16 is 4. Okie dokie. So then x is equal to negative b, so negative 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, which is 4, all over 2 times 1, 2 times a is 2. We have two answers here. We've got negative 2 plus 4, which would be positive 2 over 2, which is 1. And then we've got negative 2 minus 4 would be negative 6 over 2 is negative 3. Oh, look at that, 1 and negative 3. So here's 2 different ways that you can check. You can check by plugging the numbers back in, which I kind of just did out loud. I didn't actually show you the work for that on the yellow part on number 9. But on this one, I showed you both. If you did the factoring and you did the quadratic formula, that should be fine. I would be really surprised if a teacher didn't want you to use both. They just wanted you to use the quadratic and that's it. I feel like that would just be them like micromanaging at that point, and that would be unhealthy. Not saying it wouldn't happen, but that's my thought on that. So, anyways, hope this has been helpful. And if you need anything else, just let me know in the comments. Let me know how it went, what other videos you might want to see. I'm always down for suggestions on video ideas. I will stop everything I'm doing to do a video that you would like me to do. Um, just let me know. I just got to know. So you got to let me know. You can do that in the comments. You can shoot me an email. I think I have my email in all of the descriptions below, as well as my website. You can go check out my website. I've got some stuff on there that you can go check out as well, like the 5 math mistakes everyone makes and how to avoid them. Go check that out on my website. It's a free PDF guide for any person in any math class. It's helpful. It's just a general guide. So go check it out if that piques your interest. And I'll catch you in the next video. Blessings, y'all.